What's up, you guys? It's Jay Carnas, and welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. This is the one with the animal art book. If you can see here, I did a tiger on this side. I'll link it up top so you can check it out. I'm going to be using microns again, 005. And yeah, in this video, I will be drawing a chimpanzee, an ape. And the very first thing I will be doing is using the weight of the actual pen itself, so not putting any pressure on it, to draw out the composition. There's a lot of light, rough sketches, rough, sketchy lines here. There's a lot of rough, sketchy lines here just so I can get the composition down. These lines are not here to bother me or anything. These are not final lines. This is just, like I said, composition. The final lines I will put more pressure on, like I will be doing here. Once I start working on the face, I'll put down pressure, like push down on the tip and make those lines darker and more definitive. Like I mentioned in the previous video with the tiger, the tiger exhibit is one of my favorite to visit, but one of my all-time favorites to visit, probably number one. It's the one thing I always want to go check out, are the apes, the gorillas, the chimps. Like it's amazing. The displays are always amazing. You can get like real close. Sometimes you can interact with them over the glass. They'll like wave hi or they'll tap in the glass or something, but most of the time they just like hang out real close and they just sit. But I've seen some pretty cool displays, and it's always one of my favorite to go check out. My all-time favorite is probably the one in Chicago at the Lincoln Zoo, if I'm not mistaken. Those gorillas were active. That was a lot of fun. I remember that one of the gorillas, just out of nowhere, we were just hanging out watching them, and then I don't know where one of them just like jumps down from one of the nest or like one of the little platforms that they have, and he just like pushes the other guy over, and he just like falls over and he looks at him like, what the hell? And that was funny. And then there was another one that came up. He was just like on the opposite side of this exhibit, and he just like waddles over to where we were sitting at. I was sitting next to the glass, and he just like sits down next to me. He just like looks at me, kind of like nods his head, and I was like, oh my god, did you see that? Did you see that? I looked at my girl. I was like, did you see that? She goes, yes, I saw it. Relax. That was pretty cool. That was a lot of fun. Apes are one of those animals that I like to draw a lot as well. Just like I mentioned in the toucan video, toucans are one of those birds that I kind of like to draw a lot. Apes are one of them too. Drawing the face of the chimp is always one of my favorite things to do. Their features are so complex and very detailed, and they have a lot of wrinkles and folds on their face, and it's just getting that down is always such a great feeling when I finally get it to look like it. It's awesome. And then of course, the hands are always a tricky thing to draw. Don't think too much on the hands. Obviously, try to get it as close as you possibly can. But as long as a couple of the fingers there look good, you can kind of bullshit the rest. But yeah, hands are one of those tricky things. I do recommend, if anybody struggles with hands, like I do, because until this day I still struggle with hands. Take your time, try it out. Do a lot of practice on hands, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, the features on the chimp are always amazing to draw. It's always fun to draw. Right here, I'm getting really, really, really dark, pushing down on that pen a lot and making these marks much closer so that it looks fuller. Chimps have really big ears. So if you notice, the ear is like almost the whole size of the face. So that's always really fun to draw. I don't have to worry about, not that I don't have to worry about proportion, but I can be like, oh no, chimps have big ears, like, so if it looks huge, it's like, yeah, no, it's part of the chimp. But yeah, it's always fun. As for the facts, so I wrote down that chimps make their nests, or where they go to sleep and such, every single night. I didn't know that. I thought that like, hey, I'm gonna sleep here, and then they just like sleep there all the time. I'm assuming this applies a lot to the wild chimps, which would make sense. Obviously, you don't want to stay in one place for too long. I don't know if it applies as well for the ones in captivity, like the ones in the zoos and stuff. But yeah, I found out that they make their home, or like their bed, in safe places every single night so that they can be safe and comfortable. The other thing I didn't know was that they're not great swimmers. They don't like to swim, and they avoid deep waters. And then the last thing that I wrote down, no, sorry, two things that I wrote down. I knew that they were really, really close relatives to humans, but I didn't know the super details about it, about how they're like almost 99% accurate to, like, identical to humans. I didn't know it was that specific. That's crazy. So that was a good little bit of information to add on to the little knowledge that I knew. And then the other thing I learned was that even though they're a quarter of our size, the chimps specifically, because I mean obviously gorillas are huge, but chimps specifically, they're really small compared to humans, but they're almost twice as strong than we are. Like they can beat us up pretty easily. So don't mess with chimps. But yeah, back to the drawing. Drawing the fur in the chimp here took forever. Obviously, this is a sped up version of the video, but you can see that, adding in a lot of the strands of hair to make it look like fur, like the hair on the body of the chimp, took quite a bit. I wasn't super detailed with every single strand or anything like that. I did make a lot of them like busy and all over the place. What I did to make it look like it was, going with his body, is I went with the flow of the limb. For example, on the leg, it was, his leg is kind of like at an angle. So I had the marks kind of slant and curve the lower it went down on the leg. Same thing with the belly. I kind of opened it up so that it shows like, hey, it's got a little belly here. The fur goes with the belly. It's not like flat. But yeah, this is one of my favorite animals to draw. I do have a painting of a gorilla, actually. I'll post that up top too, so you can check it out. And yeah, towards the end, I just put in these final details, darken up these little areas, and I kind of just make sure that everything just makes sense, like that everything's implied. This is the belly, this is the limb, this is the hand, this is the face, this is the nose, and so on. But yeah, take your time with the drawings. Focus on what you're seeing. Make sure that every mark is understood, and at the end you'll have a great drawing to show. I believe this is gonna be a shorter video. This is the shortest one of the 3 so far. I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you check out my other videos. Leave me likes, comments. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see a specific animal. I'll put it on the list of animals that I want to draw. And yeah. Oh, make sure you check out the description. I have links to affiliate. I have affiliate links down there to my favorite art materials. So if you want to check those out, you can. I appreciate you guys in advance. And yeah, here's the drawing of a chimp. Thank you guys again. I'll see you guys soon.